Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of All Things Kiss in the studio with All Things Kiss. Appreciate you joining us as always. We've been having a blast with the show. And once again, this week we have a return special guest straight from the Gamble's Ramble on YouTube. We have Archie Gamble with us again.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate you coming back.
Thank
And
you for having me.
absolutely, man. So before we get into today's topic, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to our trivia winner from last week because, as you know, trivia made a comeback last week after a few weeks missing. So, the question, if you recall, was the Spirit of 76 tour started on July 3rd, 1976, in Norfolk, Virginia. Now, where was it originally scheduled to start? Because it didn't start technically on time. And the actual winner, or the actual original start date, was supposed to be on July 1st in Richmond, Virginia. But because of some packing issues with the stage, they had such a big stage at that point that they were having issues with it, packing it, transporting it. They just couldn't get it all together in time, so they had to cancel that first show, and that's what pushed the date. But anyway, we have a return winner this week. So back from the first few weeks, we had a regular winner of Killer 8186, and he got it right this time. So congrats for being back in
Way to
the
go,
winner's
man.
circle. That's awesome. Great job as always. So once again tonight at the end of this show, we will have another trivia question. And as it works, like you just saw, we will give a shout out at the end of the episode or at the beginning of next week's episode to who gets it right, first one to get it right. All right, so this week, what we're basically wanting to do is kind of take a look, because I've got that's one of the reasons why we have Archie back. Is David, my co-host, and again I forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm Alan Dunn, of course, your host, and I've got my cohort here and friend of 40 years, David
Yeah.
McNinch, with me, and then obviously Archie Gamble's joining us again. But both of them are have been professional drummers throughout their lives. They've been in bands, they've been in touring bands, they've recorded albums, they've done the whole bit. So I wanted to kind of bring them in to get them to kind of have a basically a roundtable discussion about what are the things that were brought to the table by the three Kiss drummers, Peter Criss, Eric Carr, and Eric Singer. It's kind of
Wow.
going to be a bit of a celebration of their careers and what they brought to the table for Kiss. So I'm actually going to throw it out there and start the whole thing off with we'll go I kind of like to start it in chronological order, I think, and then we just kind of go wherever it goes. But let's start out with Peter Criss. So David, why don't you start us off with basically what are your kind of magic moments with Peter, as it were? Like, what are those moments that just kind of kind of sucked you in with Peter back in the day?
Yeah, so I was like 7 years old when I first got into Kiss. And so I thought Peter Criss was the coolest looking dude that ever was, I guess.
Yeah,
It was a Destroyer era and just the whole cat persona and everything. I just thought he was like Ace and Peter were just my guys initially.
yeah,
And then, as the years have gone along, I think Peter could be a lead singer for a lot of bands. I think he's one of the most
I agree.
soulful vocalists. And even at 80 years old, his voice is still incredible. So I think like his voice, and I like the fact that he's kind of the Brooklyn guy and
Oh
all
yeah,
that kind of good
he
stuff.
brings that total Brooklyn attitude. Yep.
Kind of a good fella personality is kind of cool. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
that's my take on Pete.
So what about you? What's your sort of nutshell rundown on Pete, Archie?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of what David said holds true for me as well. He just had such a strong image. Speaking of
Hmm.
cats,
There we go.
wow,
Perfect
it's his
timing.
birthday. Everybody, it's for Shadow, and it's his birthday. He was born 3 years ago
Oh,
today.
hey, happy birthday, Shadow.
I've been spoiling him rotten all day long.
Ah,
Let's
nice.
get over here in a minute. It's got to be some sort of mystical thing that he just popped up right when we were
Yeah.
talking about cats.
Right as we're talking about the cat man,
Yeah,
there he is.
yeah. But Peter, especially like I discovered Kiss on the Alive album and tour, cycle. But I really came into their own as my band on the Destroyer cycle. And
Okay.
Peter looked so strong on the Destroyer cover. He leapt out at you, like his bulging
Yeah.
muscles
Yeah,
and the
just the pose
costume.
and everything. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he really looked like just wow.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And of course, the drumming on that album, Bob Ezra brought out the best in Peter Criss on
Oh
that
yeah, he
record.
definitely took it up a notch.
And of course, Alive is a great record for
Phenomenal.
drumming as well.
Hmm.
But Destroyer. you had someone finally going, no, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
You That's the difference why we have drum tracks like King of the Nighttime World.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the past, if Gina Paul had tried to push Peter to do something that complex and that driving, it would have turned into an argument, and he would have stormed out, and then he wouldn't have listened.
Yep.
But because of the respect that Bob Ezrin, they all held for Bob Ezrin,
Yeah.
he
That's a
knew how
great
to
point.
get it
That's a
out of
great
Peter,
point.
and he brought out the best performance. So Peter's drumming on that album is spectacular.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
That
Yeah,
was the
absolutely.
first album I chose for myself. So
Okay. Yeah, that's actually the first album I bought with my own money too, was Destroyer the week after, because I didn't, it was so funny, the story. This is kind of a sidebar. We were joking about this before we recorded. We're going to go on sidebars, but yeah, I didn't even know it was released because, we didn't have internet back then. We didn't know what was going on. And I was actually going to the store because I'd saved up enough allowance to buy what I thought was I was going to buy Hotter Than Hell. And so I got there and I saw the cover of Destroyer. Like, oh, what is this?
Yeah, exactly.
And I ended up buying that one just based on the cover alone,
Well, it's like as you asked me in the first time I appeared on the show, the first time I ever seen Kiss, my mother took me. I won't tell the whole story again, but went to Kmart Christmas shopping, and she said, pick out an album for your older brother. And Destroyer had just come out, so it was Destroyer and Alive, and they were right next to each other, and they both caught my eye. But I remember grabbing Alive because it was double album, and it seemed like a better present. My mom, I said, can we get this? But the one that caught my eye was Destroyer, just visually, and it became the album that was my album. The Alive album was I bought with my brother. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, totally get it.
And ironically, Rock and Roll Over was the very first one where I went to the record store by myself, put my money on the thing, and picked it up, bought it. And Peter plays great on that record.
Yeah,
So Eddie Kramer could also get a good performance. Love Gun. The song Love Gun, the song Shock Me in particular. The drumming, David will tell you, the drumming of both those songs is stellar.
Yeah.
So, with the right producer, Peter could deliver the goods, despite what Paul Stanley likes to say. Well,
Paul revisionist history Stanley.
Time to dig at Peter without being negative, but it's true. But in the right environment, Peter was larger than life. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Again, Eddie Kramer.
Absolutely. Yeah, he brought out the best. Yep. He and Ezra.
Can I tell a quick story about that?
Of course, absolutely.
The first time we got the first date of the convention tour that Alive did was. For those that don't know, I played in a Kiss tribute band called Alive, and we did 9 shows with Kiss on the convention tour, either as Alive or a combination of half Cold Gin, half Alive. So the first show was Salt Lake City, Utah, and it was half Alive, half Cold Gin. And the night before, we were out at a strip club with Eric Singer and Gene. And we were being cool. You don't want to fanboy out too much in situations. You want to be professional. But I asked Gene, we're socializing with him. We sat him and Eric Singer for a couple of hours. I said, can I ask one Kiss question? He goes, yeah. So, did Peter Criss really play on Larger Than Life? Because to me, it's so John Bonhamish. I thought it might have been, and was rumored, of course, that it was Anton Fig.
Okay.
And he said to me, and I quote verbatim, believe it or not, that is Peter Criss.
That is
That's what Gene said to me. Believe it or not, I love it. It's Peter Criss. No, I said that, believe it or not, that is Peter Criss. It's a great thing. He goes, yeah. And he said it too. I said, Gene, that's an incredible drum track. He goes, oh, I know. He did a great job on that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say that publicly when he said it to me, right? So, see, I've already started with the asides. But
yeah. No, that's awesome.
It applies to the question.
Yeah. David, what were you saying?
Yeah, I just have to tell you, if you guys haven't heard the isolated drum track for Shock Me, it's on YouTube, and it's unbelievable. It's just Peter's drums alone, and just the way that he is on top of the beat, off beat, and then all these other little fills and stuff.
Well, when you say David as a drummer, I think that song gave him the chance to show off his best elements. A bit of swing, a bit of a jazz wrist work, a bit of a jazzy kind of fills.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily straight ahead. Like it's straight ahead solid rock when it needs to be, but the fills and stuff are almost kind of jazzy, right?
Yeah. I tell you what was really surprising to me is like when you just hear the drums alone on Shock Me, as he's coming back into that second verse right before A starts into the second verse, he's doing this thing where he's popping the cowbell at the same time where he's hitting the snare.
Yeah.
It's freaking ridiculous.
I'll have to check it out after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, David sent me that track last week, and I was just like, "Wow, this is incredible." Yeah, it sounds so awesome.
I'll check it out after we're done this for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about it. That's so cool. But yeah, he played great on that album, which shows that in the right environment with the right producer and the encouragement that you could get what you needed out of Peter Criss.
Yeah. You brought up a great point about the fact that if Gene and Paul had tried to pull that out of him, it would have never happened. Just because of ego stuff, he would have been like, "Oh, F you guys," or whatever,
Yeah, and that's just the dynamic of the group.
That's the dynamic.
Not even necessarily just Peter's fault, because Gene and Paul could be overbearing, right?
Right.
Imagine someone standing over you while you try to create.
Right, micromanaging. Yeah, literally micromanaging. Yeah.
Standing over Peter while he's singing. He's standing next to him. Like, that's crazy.
That is crazy. Ridiculous. So so what sort of are there any particular standout tracks for you guys for Peter's drumming? Like, I know we just talked about Shock Me. Anything in particular that just jumps out at you? And I've got another point about Peter after this one. Go ahead.
David?
Yeah, I think there's all the obvious ones or whatever, but I just like to listen to Dress to Kill and just listen to all the little fills that he's doing per song.
Oh,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the stuff, the breakdown in the Lover All I Can always just kills me. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that was our soundcheck song with Alive. We didn't do it in the show, but we would do it for soundcheck for fun.
Oh, okay.
And then sometimes we would do a thing in the encore where we would play a medley. We'd play about 30 seconds of a bunch of different songs. So do it for like 10 minutes.
Oh,
wow. And guess what? Spiro told Kiss about it, and they did it on. If you remember, they did that.
Oh, I remember
the tours in the encore.
They sure did. Yeah.
I swear to God, on my mother's life, her ashes are right here. My hand is on her. They got that idea from Spiro.
Nice. Okay.
Spiro told them.
Right. Yeah. So they started thinking like, "Hey, let's do that too."
In the live, cool. We used to do little snippets of stuff. And the joke was we did it to give the fans Kiss hearts. Like to make them excited, right?
Yeah.
So we play 30 seconds of Lover All I Can. We play 30 seconds of Larger Than Life, whatever. And then Kiss started doing that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of coincidental that it happened right after that. It pretty much makes the case. Yeah, definitely. So what about you, David?
Say it again.
The standout tracks.
The standout tracks.
Other than that,
I think there's the obvious ones. I really like, a lot of the stuff that's on Destroyer is obviously the memorable drum tracks and everything else. But Dress to Kill again is just an album.
That's kind of your go-to.
That's where that's my Peter Criss appreciation moment.
Yeah. So what about you, Archie? Anything other than Destroyer that just kind of jumps out at you and smacks you in the face?
Yeah, there's here's the thing with Peter. It's like, I know Paul would say on some of the stuff that they wanted more like a Bonham or a Phil Rudd, solid heavy rock drummer. But I think that's part of the key unique sound of Kiss was Peter's.
I agree.
There are some songs where you kind of wish Peter would just play more of a solid pocket. However, stuff like Lover All I Can, wouldn't be the same song without Peter.
No, it wouldn't. Absolutely. I don't think Kiss would have been the same band without Peter Criss,
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and I'll tell you something that was interesting. When I joined Alive and I had to go back and relearn the show properly to learn the drum solo, it was really hard to learn with the flanging effect on. Because you have to hear beyond the effect to hear what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what he's doing is basically the same thing he's doing in the middle of 100,000 years, but without the flanger.
Okay,
you know what I'm talking about. On the toms, right? But then he changes that up, but it's essentially the same groove. But with the flanger on it, it sounded so wild, it was really hard for me to figure out. And then once I nailed it, I was proud of myself because, that was the one that hooked us in when we were kids, right? The jungly drumming, they call it.
Oh, yeah, the jungle drums.
Cats, the jungle cats, jungle drumming. Right?
Exactly.
Do you think you could still do it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could sit in with a Kiss tribute band, shave right now, and go down to a local bar and play a set.
Awesome. Yeah. I love
Except
it.
I can't fit in the damn spandex anymore because of my belly.
All right, one more Peter Criss question for both of you, and then we'll move on to Eric Carr. So the solo from 100,000 Years on Alive versus the whole solo on God of Thunder on Alive too.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
No.
I have to ask.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. Alive just smokes it. Yeah.
Yeah, Alive 2 solo was heavily edited.
Yeah.
It is Peter, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
yeah.
but it's edited down. You can hear the edits. I do like the really fast snare roll that Peter does on the Alive 2 solo. David, you know what I'm talking about, where he starts up up speed. I really like that. It sounds cool because that snare drum on the Love Gun kit sounded so good.
Yeah,
right.
But the Alive solo cleans it for sure.
Absolutely.
You know,
we're all in agreement on that for sure. Yeah, his solo on Alive just blows me away to this day. I've been hearing it for 50 years. Did you know that still blows me away.
What's that? Snare drum Peter used, that's a marching snare drum. Did you know that?
Okay.
He took the shell of the shell of a marching snare drum, and then they put the regular strainer and stuff on. Pearl custom made that drum for him.
Okay.
If you ever see it, it's about this deep, right?
No. Yeah, that's deep for a snare. Yeah. Wow.
Okay. That snare sounded
it's so very good. Distinctive.
Yeah, definitely. All right,
but the Alive 1 solo was definitely the better of the two.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay, so Eric Carr. So same thing, basically. What jumps out at you? Because I know I can kind of speak for David here for a second, because I know Eric Carr was pretty much his drum hero back in the day. Amen. So what talk about Eric, man. What attracted you to Eric?
Oh man, I just love the guy. I just love him. Okay, so as far as when I found out the topic that we were going to have today, we got Archie with us. I was listening to Creatures of the Night, and so I listened to I Still Love You from start to finish. And that man, the way that he can accentuate lyrics, and if you think about as a drummer, if Paul Stanley's playing you, hey, I got this song called I Still Love You, and where would you even begin with that song? And the way that he has that punch and emphasizes Paul's vocals and stuff, the fade out to that song, I get chills just thinking about it. I think Eric is such a creative drummer with his fills and has so many memorable stuff. And that's my take on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Do you want my 2 cents?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I agree with everything David said. He was the one member I never got to meet. But the Alive guys, before I joined, they met him several times, and they always told me what a great guy he was.
Yeah.
And ironically, when I joined the band, they had the drums that they had was more like Eric Carr's setup.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
It was a gunmetal grade Tama kit with 2 bass drums and everything like that.
Okay.
But their drummer too is a very good drummer before me. Mm-hmm. Steve, Eric Carr was his hero as well. And I really took more of a listen to Eric Carr when I joined that band, because I kind of started checking out with the Elder.
Yes.
Okay.
Slowly, I started checking out. And the Elder confused me, because that was the first album he had the chance to play on, right?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah.
And I remember going, okay. And then I remember hearing which isn't him. It's what's his name? Alan Schwartzberg, session drummer that played on I.
Yep.
And I remember that confused me further, because I remember hearing the drumming and going, okay, well, this is the first album with the Fox. Okay, there's some cool drumming on it. And then I didn't sound like the rest of the songs, because the shuffle, right, played on the 4-tone. And Ezra brought him in for that. But then Creatures came.
Yeah.
And okay, now I get it. Now I get why they hired this guy.
Right.
It was a heavier Kiss with the John Bonham drum sound. But come on, let's not have it loud.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and Eric, always kind of said that in interviews that, here he joins Kiss, and then the first thing he's doing in the studio is the Elder. He's like, what is happening? What are we doing? So like you said, it kind of took until Creatures for everybody to kind of really get to see what he could do on an album.
Yeah, it was the first time he had a chance to really shine, right?
Really shine.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, there's some really good material on the Elder. It's a great album, but just not a great Kiss album.
Sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like they always say. Yeah, exactly. So one of my things, so let me ask you this. So in the 80s, obviously, one of the digs on Kiss in the 80s is, especially with the classic material, is playing things way too fast, right? They really sped the tempos up.
Yeah.
And so what is your take on that? I mean, obviously we don't really know unless somebody's heard through the grapevine. Kind of okay, I figured you may have some insight in this. So who was it? Was that an Eric thing? Was that a Gene and Paul thing? What do you know about it?
It's a Paul Stanley thing.
Okay, so he just wanted it super fast, right?
Paul has always and will always dictate the tempos in Kiss in their shows.
Yeah.
Wow.
To the point that he was counting when Peter came back, that Paul was counting off the songs. You notice that?
Mm-hmm.
You go, 1, 2, 3, 4 off mic. I'm thinking, why the hell are you doing Peter's job?
Right.
And I did ask people that worked for Kiss about it. We'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they said basically that's always been the case.
Okay.
Now, with fairness to Kiss, after Creatures and when Lick It Up cycle and the 80s stuff, metal and hard rock were popular, hair metal and stuff like that. So they wanted to be heavier, and they equated playing faster with heavier. Okay. So that's why they made the change in the 80s to be contemporary with the young bands like Anthrax and not necessarily the heavy metal bands, but the young bands that had all this energy. They went back to the Alive 2 tempos, which were really fast.
Much faster, yep. Mm-hmm.
Exactly right. And then of course I think it depends on what mood Paul Stanley's in that day. I really do.
Yeah, I get it. It's just for me, it just sounds like, and we noticed this back in the day. I know David and I, when we would go to the shows back in the 80s together. Yeah, I mean, it just felt like, man, those old the few classic songs they were playing at the time just kind of lost their groove,
They did.
Yeah, because they're just way out of context too fast. So, but yeah, I think I've heard in the past that Eric gets blamed for that, but I never believed that Eric, was really at fault for that, because I always knew that if it wasn't a Gene and Paul thing, it wouldn't have happened, because they're not just going to let him dictate the pace of these songs and say, oh, whatever, that's what we're doing,
Yeah. Well, I wasn't there, but I was told it was specifically a Paul Stanley thing.
Got it.
And because his theory was that if you want to compete with these young bands, heavy rock, heavy metal's popular, hard rock now.
And like you said,
we got to play faster.
Faster equated to heavier. Yeah, exactly.
In Paul's mind, right? I mean,
Right, exactly. That's what he thought. So
we touched on this before, and I won't go too astray with this, but Paul really is the dominant member in Kiss. People don't.
Yeah,
because Gene's the public face. Because Gene's the public face, people equate it as being Gene's band. I know for a fact, and I'm not just the obvious answer. People I know in the Kiss organization, I know many people in the organization will be the same thing. If Paul Stanley doesn't want something, it doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, I've heard that too. That if Paul doesn't want it, it's not going to happen.
Exactly, exactly right. And that goes down to everything like tempos. Go back and watch the live videos. He's counting off the songs.
Yeah, he's the one that's counting off the songs,
which
not the
is
drummer.
Insane. If I David, we back me up here. If I was in a band and it was an equal band, I wasn't a side man, and the singer's trying to tell me what the tempos are, I think he'd have a set of drumsticks up his rectum. It's not part of me, but it's true. I mean, like, no, my job is to set the tempo, and I think I'm pretty good at it. But of course, Eric Carr and Eric Singer were both sidemen, right?
Yeah.
And, there's the old thing, too, about Paul and Peter coming to Loggerheads about tempos live as well.
Sure.
Including the famous incident where Peter slowed everything down because Paul kept telling him, speed it up, speed it up.
So he just slowed it all down to nothing.
Exactly. Yep. It's a Paul Stanley fetish, right? Tempo.
Right. Apparently. I
think it's a control thing.
Right. Sure. Yeah. I'll agree with that.
I can't play the drums, so I'm going to control the drummer and how he plays the drums.
Right. So one of the things that always stood out for me with Eric that I still love it to this day is, and I believe I don't want to get the tour wrong, but I believe it was the Asylum tour. You can correct me if I'm wrong, where he started the electronic pads in his solo.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that just blew me away, man. Because I remember when I first heard that, I thought my head was going to explode when he started doing that. Right? Yeah, I thought that was incredible. That's one of my all-time favorite Eric Carr moments. And like
I stole that from him when we were a cover band before my band signed in the 80s. I got some Yamaha electronic pads.
Oh, nice.
And I put orchestra chord bursts on, like strings.
Yeah.
Bam, 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 bam.
Okay.
Different keys and different pads all over the kit. So I would put a bass one pad would have bass 8 notes on it, so I would play bass line with my right hand, and then dum 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 band, and play chorus with my left.
Nice.
I stole that from Eric Carr.
That was very good.
He didn't exactly do that, but it was a twist on his thing he would do with
it was just your take on what he did. Very cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Eric Singer. So what are those standout moments from Eric's playing in his time in the band for you guys?
David?
Well, in my humble opinion, I think Eric Singer is just a cool guy to watch live.
Yeah.
I think like between the three of them, he's probably the most exciting guy to watch on stage, I guess. And maybe some of that is like Eric Carr is usually buried behind the drum set to a certain degree.
Yeah, you rarely ever see.
That's true.
But like, Eric Singer just had this whole little kind of flash thing going on in the way he would do stuff. And he's probably the most slick of the three,
Yeah.
Okay, whereas I don't know. And like I said, this is just my opinion. I think that, Pete and Eric Carr, they had very memorable licks, that they did and stuff like that. But Eric Singer just brought like nitro to the band, and was just top-notch, slick, like Lamborghini drummer.
I think he's technically the best player of the three. He's got the best technique.
I agree.
He's got the most,
I think the same thing.
He's been taught. You can tell that he sat for hours at a practice pad, his rudiments and everything. His technique, his actual technique is the best. Not to say that his feel is my favorite, but his technique is the best out of all three drummers. With Eric Carr being a very close second,
Yeah.
Okay.
Peter is very self-taught.
Yeah. He's just kind of his own thing. Yeah.
Drummer,
to me, Peter is always just unique and has got his own style. And it's just, to me, I find it difficult to compare Pete to other drummers just because of that very reason,
Well, I can hear other drummers in Eric Singer and Eric Carr. I can't hear other drummers in Peter Criss.
Same here.
Peter Criss
I can't
had
hear
a very
him
unique approach.
Right.
Like I can hear John Bonham in both Eric Singer and Eric Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I can hear Carmine Appice in Eric Singer.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear, what I'm trying to say? But Peter Criss,
absolutely.
some of that stuff he played just came out of, like, from Mars.
Yeah.
Like, I would never even think to play some of the fills. Like, let's obviously, like, something like the intro to Strutter.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from Stone's Children, it's just a shot away. It's just a shot away.
Give me shelter.
Yeah, give me shelter.
Yeah, give me that. That is the exact drum fill in the chorus. Underneath that chorus, it's exactly what it is.
All right. So you got a little Charlie Watts in there. All right.
It's 100% where Peter got it from. 100%, and Peter loved Charlie.
Yeah.
Stuff like that aside. Stuff like
that's an excellent pickup. I'll have to go listen to that again. See if I can listen for that.
Once I point it out to you, you'll hear it clearly.
You can't not hear it. Yeah.
It's at the tail end of the chorus when Mick is saying, "It's just a shot away."
Yeah.
Underneath, it's just a shot away. When he repeats it, underneath that is the Strutter fill.
Yeah, I can hear it in my head now that you're saying it. Yeah, exactly. Because I've heard that song a million times. Yeah.
But then there's other stuff you hear that Peter does, and you go, "Where did that come from?" Like, do you know what I'm saying, David? As a drummer, like "Lover All I Can," those fills in the middle are not very typical. I would never approach a song that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fills from the snare to the tom with the doubles.
Yeah,
that's wild.
I don't even know how to reference that. Like, it doesn't sound like Keith Moon. It doesn't sound like Mitch Mitchell. It just sounds different. You know what I mean? Whereas Eric Singer, when I hear him play, I go, "Oh yeah, I've heard that. That's up on him. Like that's a Tommy Aldridge." I know you hear Tommy Aldridge in
particular.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, so Peter was very much his own animal, pun intended, I guess. But
he
was his own animal drumming.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. Because I guess for me, at the end of the day, the way I sum it up is as far my favorite, obviously, for me, my favorite is Peter because he was the drummer, obviously, when I became a fan in 1975, and then, but yeah, kind of like what you said, the most technically proficient drummer was Eric Singer. And I just kind of put Eric Carr in the middle, love him to death, but yeah, that's just kind of the way I perceive them.
I have the same perception as you. And Peter, despite my bitching about Peter, those are personal issues. he is the drummer in Kiss. You know, he's the cat
Yeah.
man. And God loved the other two. And I think Eric Carr was the perfect drummer for Kiss in the '80s.
Oh, I think so
and
too.
I really liked what he did on those songs.
Agreed.
But overdubbed Tom Fills, Who Wants to Be Lonely and stuff like that. David, you know what I'm saying as a drummer.
Yeah.
He would record the basic with a straight backbeat, and then over top, they would do these big Tom Fills, right? Who all these songs, a lot of the singles had them. I don't know if Eric came up with that, but that's a very signature Eric Carr thing. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Tears Are Falling, for example. It's all over Tears Are Falling. So in the chorus, he's playing a straight pumping.
Yeah. Like da da do 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 da da do do do. Yep. Exactly.
That's pretty unique.
It's awesome. Yeah, I love it. That's one of the things that got me about that song in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked, right? It worked,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and to me, I think that says a lot about a drummer's skill when the drums are what like hook you into a song. Because everybody thinks, oh, well, it's either the vocals or it's the guitar riff or something like that. But when we have a drum lick, basically, or a drum riff that's like, oh, that's will hook you in. That's pretty rare and pretty awesome.
Yeah, for a while there, they used to let Eric Singer. It seemed like it to be call it the tempos.
Yep.
And he was able to shine more. When Paul's calling it tempos, I feel like Eric's playing two behind the beat, but he's doing it to keep Paul happy. So I don't blame Eric Singer for it. But I can see he's probably frustrated. First of all, he plays to a click track all night. He told me that.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember if it's a counting click, but I believe it's a click throughout the whole night.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah. So then again, I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself because maybe that's Paul Stanley's hearing the click. And hearing that, the way that David will tell you, the way a click track works live is there's a warning of a bar for the drummer. There's a 2-bar click before the song starts.
Okay.
4 count that the drummer hears, and then 4 that the drummer gives the rest of the band. So
that means
that Paul Stanley's hearing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then going 1, 2,
and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Yeah.
So whoever's calling the tempos, though, and I believe it is Paul Stanley, I find them too slow. But there seemed to be, I think it was around Revenge, that Eric was allowed to kind of play his own lane. And I loved his drumming in that era. His drumming on the Revenge album is amazing.
Absolutely.
Again, Bob Ezrin, right?
Yep. You know the thing about Eric Carr, though?
What's that?
Like, this is what gets me about Eric is, so I remember the first magazine I ever saw with Eric on the cover was People magazine.
Yeah.
And so like,
the group shot,
back in those days, it was like that was the only way you ever really found out anything that happened was like through these little magazines, not like today or whatever.
I remember.
But I just remember seeing his face on that cover, and it wasn't even the finalized makeup. It was like this
kind
of little
it was that early version of it, yeah.
Like
exactly.
Eric Carr had the toughest assignment in Kiss to me because he had to replace someone that was already a legend, basically, and then he went through those real slump years where, because I remember 1981, 1980 or whatever, I started getting into Motley Crue and like, you're talking about like up-tempo songs like Live Wire and all that kind of stuff. I was into Iron Maiden. And then I would turn on and it would be Kiss on freaking solid gold.
Yeah.
It's
it was a different time, man. Yeah.
And for that dude to have to come into that kind of an assignment at that part of Kiss,
that's tough.
Like my heart goes out to him,
Absolutely.
and to do that so heroically.
He looked so cool when he played. I love the head shake that he did with
with that big mop of hair.
Yeah, like it's like what Paul said, his hair would enter the room before he would, right?
Yeah.
I really liked Eric Carr's live solo too. I thought it was very entertaining, very musical. Hell of a drummer. And as I said, the live guys told me, I never got to meet him, but they said he was by far the nicest member that was.
He was, I mean, David and I were blessed enough
everybody, right?
Yeah. I mean, David and I, we talked about it last week. If you watched the show, that we were lucky enough to meet him a couple of times, on the Crazy Nights tour, and then again on the Hot in the Shade tour. And he was just absolutely fantastic. He just took all the time in the world to sit there.
He stayed till the last autograph was signed, right?
Absolutely,
Wouldn't do necessarily.
He was a good soul, man. He's a good soul. And I guess the thing about the thing with Eric Singer, though, and I have to respect this on like a business level, is that like Eric Singer understood his assignment from day one, pretty much.
That's right.
You know,
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, you are a hired drummer and just be the best drummer you can be, kind of thing. And he understood it on a business level, whereas Eric, it always kind of seemed like
Eric
he
struggled
was
with
always
that. Yeah.
wanting to be the member of Kiss, and it was
Yeah,
always
Eric wore his
Kiss.
heart on his sleeve for sure.
Yeah.
Eric Carr, you're absolutely right. He took things personally that he shouldn't have taken personally, but it shows what kind of person he was, that he was sensitive and kind, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, in a business like a music business, especially with people like Gina Paul, who are just so cut and dried, with no, to them it's business is business, and there's
there's no wiggle room,
romance, and there's no what's the word looking for? It's like this is how it is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But to give them credit, they're like that with themselves too.
Mm-hmm.
You hear producers come in and go, "That sucks. That song's not going on the album," and Gina Paul will go, "Okay, well, that's how it is. He's the producer." But with someone like Eric, it was I don't think they could have been kinder with him. I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't there, but I'm just speculating that they could have been kinder and massaged his ego, maybe a little, to be better, to just be nicer.
Absolutely. I get
you have
that.
a friend that's sensitive, you treat them accordingly because they're your friend and you love them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want someone to be happy in their job and their existence. Like literally, there was periods where Paul and Eric didn't even talk. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're bandmates, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, that was a great discussion. I appreciate you guys kind of rolling with that. It's just something we came up with this week and decided to roll with it. And I thought that was cool. We'll definitely be doing something like that again. So I want to actually, I guess we're going to wrap up the show this week with the next trivia question. And by the way,
drum roll, David.
Yes.
Drum roll.
And so actually let us know in the comments what you think. What's your take on the three Kiss drummers? And I actually had an idea for another show. Shouldn't spoil this, but I know in the future I'm going to ask Archie to come back and we can discuss all of these sort of Kiss related drummers, if you know what I mean. Like guys like Anton Fig and Ed Cannon and some of those guys. We'll talk about some of those who worked on the albums, Alan Schwartzberg and stuff like that. And we'll kind of discuss a little bit of that too on another show. But anyway, so let's get into this week's trivia. And this one I had to really kind of dig deep into my past to kind of remember everything about it. But and this, for some reason, this is just something I read in a magazine, one of the circus magazines back in the day, back in the 70s. There was just a little blurb, kind of like at the beginning of the magazine. Sometimes they would just have these random little like semi articles. Well, there was one that stuck out to me because obviously it had Paul Stanley in the headline. So it said the guitar that was too hot for Kiss I remember that to this day. The guitar that was too hot for Kiss. And so what the story talked about was there was a guitar that Paul either purchased or had made. I don't recall the details on that, but it was a particular shape. And the word on the in the article, or at least the story in the article said, okay, his girlfriend at the time, somehow she thought it was going to bring him bad luck, and it went against her religion or something weird. I don't know what all the details again, but he ended up buying that and saying, okay, and he never ended up playing it in the band. So what was the shape of that guitar? And any other information that you may glean about that, let us know. And it sounds like Archie knows. But it was a very particular shape. And yeah, let us know. So that's basically the trivia question for this week. What was the shape of the guitar that Paul got? And it was around 1975 that this happened from what the article said. It was in 1975 that he either purchased or had this guitar made, but he never ended up playing it in the band. So first one to get it right next week gets a shout out on the show. So, but yeah, guys, thanks so much again for a great discussion. We really appreciate you. And thanks everybody out there for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing it with all the other Kiss fans. We really appreciate you guys. And we will see you again next week. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Archie.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Archie. Oh, and check out
It.
Gamble's Ramble on YouTube. Check out Gamble's Ramble on YouTube for more Archie. Awesome. All right, guys. Appreciate it.